Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for today's webinar. My name is Mandy Hancock, the Director of Customer Success here at Rhinogram. I will be today's event organizer. Here with me is Mr. Brendan Dagg, Director of Product Management. Today's webinar will focus on the newest features included in our 3.5.4 release, which is scheduled to deploy this Thursday night. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please do ask them in the GoToWebinar control panel. We have reserved time at the end of the session to answer any of your questions. Also, today's session is being recorded and will be emailed to all registrants if you need to share with anyone on your team who may have missed today's event. So without further ado, we will jump straight into the presentation. Let's kick things off today by talking about Rhinogram's new and improved user interface. Brendan, help our listeners understand why Rhinogram decided to make these changes to our application.
Hey, Mandy, nice to speak to you and nice to speak with everybody on the webinar today. Yeah, so there are two main factors that drove our decision. First of all, we wanted to provide better user experience for our users on both the mobile and the desktop while using Rhinogram. And also, as Rhinogram continues to grow in features, we wanted to make sure that our app is easily able to scale in the future and meet these future demands that for upcoming enhancements that we know are coming. So really they are the two main drivers behind our decision.
So users, listen up, because this does impact how users will navigate Rhinogram. So what's the best way, Brendan, for those listening to ensure they know where to find inboxes, the settings or gear icon, and other areas in Rhinogram that may have moved as a result of this change?
Yeah, so the easiest way is the first time they log in, we have introduced a very simple guided tour. So the first time anybody logs in on any of their devices, they will be introduced to a short three-step tour that will introduce the new flows and just kind of get somebody orientated with the new layout within Rhinogram. So rather than me talking about it, maybe let's just jump in and take a quick look at it so you can see what that tour will actually look like. So if everybody can see, as you can notice here, I've logged into Rhinogram as I normally would, and I'm on my first screen. So you can see for sure that there are some changes which we will speak through in just a second. But initially, you'll see this orange tour here. So what this is doing is it is giving you a quick indicator of these updates. So first step that you see is this introduction step here, which says we've improved how you navigate Rhinogram. So at this point, you can either choose to close this or you can go show me more. If you decide to go show me more, it then takes you down to where our new systems setting icon is, and it essentially just lets you know that this is the place that you will now do your setup and your configuration and your settings end of things. And we've also just in this tour let everybody know about the color changes. So at this point, again, I can either close it or I can go explore settings. If I go to explore settings, I'm now taken into the settings section. So as I mentioned, this is just a one-time, very quick tour just to get people orientated and just to, I guess, highlight the key areas that they need to pay attention to.
Brendan, I love it, and I hope our users love it. And I hope the guided tour that you just presented is really going to help them understand that new navigation panel. Because this change impacts all users of Rhinogram, can you demonstrate this new panel to our users? I mean, after all, that infamous gear or settings icon that was located in the upper right-hand corner has been moved to the lower left-hand corner. So I just want to make sure we take a really close look to make sure everyone really understands these changes.
Sure, yeah. let's go through it. So first of all, what we've done is we've moved all of the major navigation to this left-hand panel here. This left-hand panel, it persists throughout the application, whether you're on desktop or on mobile. So what we have done is we have split this into the 4 main areas of the app. So first of all are the various inboxes that we are all used to seeing. And again, when you click in here, so you see your 4 areas here: inbox, and contacts and analytics, and down the bottom here our settings section. And while I'm in any one of these sections here, we have our main menu here as well. So when I spoke about scaling the application, when I show, for instance, the analytics tab here in a second, you'll see how us moving to this left-hand navigation here has a lot of benefits for us. So let me just go through each section. First one here is the inbox section. You'll notice when I'm in this panel here looks as it always has. So we have my tasks, the patient messages, and or team messages as well. No matter where I am in the application, I'm always able to see whenever there are any unread messages. So this number here will always persist no matter where I am in the application. So as I move from the inbox section to the next section, which is contacts, which used to be down at the bottom, you can now see within the contact section, if I have set up save lists, I can see save lists here as well. So you can see that now within contacts, there's actually a couple of different pages. You'll also notice that the background color here is blue. However, as I navigate into one of the new sections, which is our analytics dashboard, you'll notice that we have a different background color here to indicate that you've now moved away from the inbox and into the analytics dashboard. And within the analytics dashboard, any sub pages here where we have messaging. So in the past, we just had one main page for analytics. We know that we want to improve and add additional analytic functionality into our product. So what we have now is the capability of having multiple pages here within analytics. The first of those that we've introduced is the conversation activity section, which we will speak a little bit in a little bit more detail later. You'll notice then as I move from my green into my settings section down at the bottom, that we are now in the navy color. And again, this allows us to focus when I'm in settings, if I want to add a new template, or if I want to add a new member, or set up my out of office, I can see my navy left-hand navigation here stays. But at any one time, if I ever want to see have I got any new messages, etc., my number indicator up here persists. So if I ever want to jump back into my inbox, I can do that as well. So I think the main things for us to focus on here is that this left-hand navigation panel, it persists. It is the place that you really need to go to for all of your navigation needs. Depending on the section that you're in, the color of that section will change. And then just one final thing that I want to point out, if I do want to log out of the application, we've introduced a logout icon over here, and that is in the top right-hand corner. So when you're logging out, you are making a clear differentiation from moving from my navigation here on the left over to logging out on the top right-hand side. So that's everything about the new navigation, Mandy.
Thanks, Brendan. I personally love the color changes because, like many users that are listening to us today, it takes a minute to break old habits of going to that top right-hand corner for that gear icon. So love that the colors are changing and helping guide me through the application. Let's now turn our attention to the new features surrounding Rhinoblast. First, let's start with a basic definition. Can you help everyone understand what a Rhinoblast message is?
Sure. A Rhinoblast message allows a staff member to send up to 50 contacts the same message at the same time. So Rhinoblast messages can be sent from the appointment manager page for anybody that is integrated, or by building a saved list within the contact section. And I should say all of that is until now.
Wait a minute. So You're saying that our users are going to be able to send a Rhino blast from somewhere else in Rhinogram after this release?
Yes, really pleased to say that we have added the same functionality that we already have to some other areas of the app, and namely here within this inbox section. So let me show you how this will work. So, I'm looking here at my inbox menu, and I'm looking here at my front desk group. I just have a sample of 4 patients lined up here. So as we always have been able to do, I can select all of these. In the past, however, messaging was not an option from this screen here. With this most recent update, I can select all of these on the top left, as I always could. I can come into my select an action over here, and now I can send a Rhino Blast message from this particular screen here. So the same rules apply. Up to 50 contacts. Once I select here, I can see which 4 have been selected, etc. And I can choose to use a template or free form write a message within here, etc. And then at the point that I'm ready, I choose which phone number I want to send it from, and I can send.
This is going to be so great, Brendan. I know customers who have specifically requested this enhancement, and if they aren't here to hear it themselves, I cannot wait to share the great news with them. I think 2 of the other issues that our customers have requested related to Rhino Blast is about making and building the list easier, and also able to track which Rhino Blast have failed so they know which contacts they need to follow up with. Are we any closer to these features?
Yeah, actually, really excited to say that not only have we introduced more places from which you can send the Rhino Blast, but in addition, we have made it easier to make your own list, and then also once you have sent a Rhino Blast, to know the status of that campaign. So again, let me show you here. So if I go to my contact section over here, and I go to my save lists. So we always have been able to create a list or edit a list, but the experience for how we can do that now is much more efficient. So I am going to look at an existing list here, which is my diabetic list. So I can see that right now there are 7 contacts on that list. If I wish, I can update that list. So let's say I want to see, well, who else in my organization has got a tag of diabetic. So let me do that search here. And I can see on my list that there are actually other contacts that have got a tag of diabetic, but I haven't yet selected. So in the past, I would have had to search one time, select somebody, search another time, select somebody else. Not very efficient. So what we have now is a much more efficient way of editing lists and building lists. So if, for instance, I decide that, well, I don't need to actually have Heather on the list here, I can remove Heather. You can see that she's been updated here. If I want to add Amanda to the list, I can do that. If I want to scroll down and see, okay, this patient here is not on the list. So I can, with one search term, I can update the list. If I want to go back and let's say there is a specific person, so I want to put Killian on the list. I see all of his details. I see he's not there. I can select him. Now my list has grown to 9. At this point, I can decide either I just want to update the list for future use, or I can update a message. Again, if I decide that I want to update a message, I can do that. And then at this point, if for whatever reason, and just let's say for the purpose of our demo here, the only person I'm going to send a message to is Killian, I can use a nice template. I can search for, if, for instance, he's the only newly diagnosed diabetic on the list, I can choose to send a message. I can choose what phone number to send it from. And now I'm going to send a message out to Killian. So another piece of feedback that we've heard is, well, now that I've sent a message, and let's say I had sent that out to 50 people, how do I know what happened with that message? And if, for instance, certain certain messages failed, then I need to know that information. So what I can do there as well is I can click into my analytics page, and if I go to my new tab here, again in the green, into my conversation activity, you'll see there's a new tab here called campaigns. And what this is, or what this does is it gives me an overview of all of the different campaigns that have been sent in a certain time frame. So for instance, I can see that in the last 30 days, there have been 3 different campaigns sent. Here's when they were sent, here's who sent them, and here's the one that I just sent here. Here's the message that was a part of that campaign, so you can actually you can get a sense of what the message was, how many contacts were on that, and were there any failures. So for instance, on the last one, I'm satisfied that there were no failures on that. However, if you want to see, if certain messages failed, then you can see on this campaign list here which messages failed, so that then you can go in and take action on them. And maybe let's speak a little bit about that here in a second as well, Mandy.
I personally feel like a kid on Christmas morning right now seeing this, Brendan. So I know there are going to be a lot of happy customers seeing those 2 new features. Those were for sure the top 2 requested features from our user base. Okay, next up, we want to talk about an enhancement that was requested by our customers. And this is the ability to see which phone number you are texting within the conversation thread. This is going to be extremely helpful for contacts that have multiple cell phone numbers related to their profile. Can you show everyone how this will work?
Sure. So let me just, so we know we sent a message to a patient here at Killian. Okay. So this is the campaign that was just sent to him. So as normal, it shows up on his thread, etc. In the past, and you can also see that on their profile, they are the owner of 2 phone numbers. In this case here, they were both successful messages that were sent. However, if, for instance, one of these had failed, and I can show an example of a failure here in a second, I have no idea, well, was this the first phone number or was this the second phone number? Well, that is until this release. So now all I have to do is just scroll over here and I can get more details about that message. I can see what the outgoing phone number is and if it was successful, if it was a successful message or not. If it was a failure, I would see failed here and I would see like a red X. I can show that as well here in a second, but essentially this is now giving our end users some insight into what's actually happened. So for instance, if maybe you noticed that one of the phone numbers was lacking an area code, you could obviously go in, edit that number and make sure that it has an area code on the number so that it becomes a textable number. So a small update, but I know it'll really help our users from an understanding and an efficiency point of view.
So Brendan, I noticed that when you were searching for that contact, you used the global search. For some of our practices that are listening, they may have like multiple phone numbers associated in their account. It could be like a main phone number and an emergency phone number as an example. And they've reported that occasionally when they send an outbound message, it defaults to the wrong phone number. I understand this release will address this issue. So can you help explain the logic for how Rhinogram chooses which outbound number to use?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is definitely some of the rules and some of the logic that goes on behind the scenes here at Rhinogram. So our aim is to try to set up these rules so that it just makes as much sense for our users as possible. And when you are going to communicate, you don't really have to stop and think a whole lot about it. The logic behind this is that it essentially follows a flow of when we are sending a message, and let me just show it here as I'm speaking as well. In this particular organization here, there are 4 different phone numbers. We also know that another channel is Facebook that could show on this list here as well. So our logic essentially is that we will we will show it for existing phone numbers first, and then new phone numbers, and then Facebook. So an existing phone number is, let's say, your office phone number that while we were setting up your organization, we would have provisioned that during our implementation. So if, for instance, you had us implement or provision 3 different landlines, then they would be the ones that would show up first. If you happen to have 3, we will pick one of those as the first set of outbound numbers. Then after those 3, we would go for new numbers. So if you requested that Rhinogram created the new number for you, for instance, an emergency number, that would be next on the list, and then Facebook. So every time we are sending a message and starting a conversation, we are going on that order. First of all, we are trying to pick an existing number. If there's no existing numbers, new numbers. If there's no new numbers, Facebook. So that is the general flow there. So if mainly you want to use an existing number for the initial message, one of the existing numbers will show up first on the list.
Well, hopefully that will help our users understand how Rhinogram chooses the default outbound number, and when needed, how to select that different outbound number to ensure that messages are always sent from the right channel. I think it's time to shift gears a bit, and let's talk about message translation. Did I hear
Sure.
correctly that Rhinogram is going to support more languages?
Yeah, absolutely. So in our last release, we introduced translations, and we had four languages initially, and we have heard some really good feedback from our customers, and we have got lots of requests to add some new languages. So we have increased the amount of languages that we support from 4 to 10. So we've added another 6 languages, and let me show you what they are, and also show you how we can actually go about selecting one of those languages. So just before I do that, just for anybody that is not familiar, if you ever want to change the phone number that you're sending a message to, you can always go down here, this bottom section here, and you can either choose a different number to send the message to. Obviously, this is on the patient side, or one of like a different number within your practice. So in this case here, if I wanted to send a message, maybe not from like a demo phone number, but from one of the other ones, I would just select a different phone number, and that would now become the outbound channel. So for the purpose of this, let's just stay with this message here. But I am going to, in this case, change it to this cell phone here. So I'm going to compose a message and say, how are you today? Simple message. But if, for instance, I want to send this in one of or 10 supported languages, I click here on Translate to, and rather than it just being 4 languages, there are now 10 languages. So we have added Chinese, Filipino, Korean, Russian, Thai, and Vietnamese. So they are the 6 new languages in addition to the 4 that we already supported. So if, for instance, we knew here that Killian needed to receive a message in Vietnamese, we can now do a translation. Here is the message in Vietnamese that is ready to send, and I can send that outbound message. And as everybody is already used to, when I've now sent that message, for anybody else in the organization, I can see that the original was sent, or sorry, I can either look at the message that was sent, or I can see the translated option here as well. So we always show what is the message in English, and then what is the translated option, and what language was that sent in as well. So again, just opening up more avenues of communication for anybody that is not a native English speaker, but still needs to communicate with your practice.
That is very impressive, and I love how easy it is to use. Great job showing that, Brendan. So something else I think our users need to actually see is how we can now support sending larger image files, PDF documents, and even video files like MP3s and MP4s to their contacts using templates. I do know that we educated them on this feature when we released it a week or 2 ago, but I think it might help by showing them just how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. This is something that we are really excited about. We want to make sure that everybody has, a really good understanding of, and if you're not already using it, that you know that this is another tool in your communication armory now. So one thing I do just want to stress at this point is that if you are just sending a message and not using a template, but you are just like adding a file from your computer, let's say the old rules still apply there. So still at that point, the limit is 600 kilobytes, and for instance, you can't send a PDF here. So if I was doing, if I was just sending a regular image file, I would just do that in the same way that I always have. However, if it is a file, for instance, a movie you want to send, or a PDF with some instructions, or a form that is like a common, a form that is not containing any PHI, but you are sending it out to your patients on a regular basis, rather than having to send anything via Rhino Secure, you can now send these messages via text message. Obviously, the main benefit of that is the convenience on the patient side. So as a patient, if I wish to view a video, I can just receive a link through to a video in my text message, and I just click on it and view the video. So let me just show you how to do that. So first of all, imagine I have not got a template set up. So I'm just going to go down here to my settings section, which is in the bottom left, and click on this. And I notice I'm now in gray, and I am looking at my templates menu over here. When I want to go and create a new template, it's the same flow as always, but while I'm uploading a file, I can now upload basically any file type up to 20 megabytes. As I upload that file, it is stored within my template section over here. So it's really the same flow as we have always gone through. Let's just look here at one, for instance, that I created a little bit earlier on today. So earlier today, I created a new movie in template file. So you'll see that this is an MP4 file. It is a video file. In the past, we would not have been, capable of uploading this and sending it via an SMS. Now we are. So let's just go back here and look at that patient and search for them, see what channel do we want to use, and I'm going to use a template. Because I've just favorited that template, it's right up at the top of my list. I know there is an attachment there. And now, as I'm going to send this, maybe let's send this one in French, right? So I'm going to send a movie file with, I'm going to send a text message with a link through to this patient. So on the other side, as a patient, I've just got a text message with a link, and when I click that link, I'm actually looking at that file, and here is the file that I've actually sent. So the experience as a patient is they just get a text, they click the link, it shows up in their browser, and they can play the file. If they want to, at that point, to download it or view it or whatever they want to do with it, they can do that within their web browser. So this is a really big win for us, and we know from the feedback already that a lot of our clients have been utilizing this a lot in the communication with their patients, and it has been really beneficial for seamless communication with the patients. So we're excited about it, and I would say we can't stress it enough to let everybody know that this feature is now available and there for everybody's usage.
And we already have some excited customers asking questions. So we'll get to those at the end of this session so that Brenda can address those as well. Let's shift gears to a couple of our integration features. We've got two integration enhancements that we need to show our customers today. First up is the enhancement related to saving content back to the patient's chart for a couple of our partners. Do you mind sharing what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just kind of teeing it up here as we're talking. So let me back up here a step. So earlier this year, we released the ability to select and save content. I'm not going to do a full demo of that now, but I can basically take any piece of content within the thread, select it, package it up into a nice PDF, and then it is now a file that can be exported out of Rhinogram and imported into your EHR. One of the main value propositions within Rhinogram is trying to make your workflow as efficient as possible. So we have worked on further integration enhancements with some of our key partners, namely Nextech and Cloud9, to essentially allow you to from within Rhinogram, with the click of a button, send that file out of Rhinogram and into the EHR as a clinical document on the chart without ever having to download it, upload it, all of those other steps. So again, as earlier, rather than me talking about it, let me show an example. So imagine I have packaged up a sample file here, and I've gone to the library, as you always can. Excuse the sample nature of this content. We've added a new button here, which is send to the EHR. So for anybody that is integrated with Nextech or Cloud9, you will see this new button. Other integrations are not yet supported. We are working towards trying to add this for some additional integrations, because we know that this is important, and we know that we want to save you guys as much time as possible. So all I have to do here is I already have a PDF that has been generated, and at the time that I'm ready to send this into the EHR, I just have to click send to EHR, and now I have to send my content. You'll see it's sending, and then we have a status indicator to say that it was successfully sent, and a timestamp to say when that happened. So now if I was to log into my EHR, in this case Nextech, and look at that patient's record, I would see this PDF living on their profile, living within their patient chart within Nextech. So again, this is a big win for us, and obviously adds a lot of efficiency to our integrated clients.
Wait a minute. So you are saying that customers integrated with Cloud9 or Nextech no longer have to download a PDF from Rhinogram and upload the file to the patient's chart?
That is absolutely correct. Yes. So yeah, we're very excited about that. Obviously, saves a lot of steps on our client side, and just means that the right content is in the EHR when you need to refer to it.
Now that is really cool stuff there. I know our users love adding efficiency to their workflows, and this is going to help ensure that those relevant clinical conversations get saved to the patient's chart when needed. The last integration feature we need to talk about is related to the data we receive from Cloud9 specifically.
Yeah, so yeah, we've been working with Cloud9 very closely over the last few months to add some enhancements to our integration. Obviously, I just showed you one there. Another one is the fact that we can now process active patients or inactive patients as a part of our integration. So as we are setting up a new integration, or if, for instance, somebody in the past requested that we would bring in inactive patients and we were not capable of doing that, now for any Cloud9 integration, or orgs can essentially choose whether they want to bring in inactives only or active patients, and bring them into the Rhinogram system.
All right, so I'll recap that just to make sure that I heard that correctly. So first, we can now pull active patients or active and inactive patients when we're working with the Cloud9 integration. Did I hear that correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay, and then secondly, the customer gets to decide how we process their patients. So we can process patients, then responsible parties, or responsible parties, then patients, which really helps drive which contact will own the phone number. Right, Brendan?
Yes, that's exactly it. So in the past Cloud9 integrations, we were essentially always bringing in the patient data first and then the related party data. So if both contacts owned a phone number, or sorry, had a phone number on their record within Cloud9, it meant that the first person into Rhinogram becomes the owner of that phone number. Obviously, in the case where a patient is a minor and they are now the owner of the phone number, it is not ideal. So what this enhancement allows us to do is to basically work with each individual client and see what suits their needs. So if they want to actually process the related parties first, because they are generally, the parents and the people that you are communicating with, we can bring them in to Rhinogram first, so they are now the owner of the phone number. We are obviously still bringing in the patient and all of their appointment details, but it just means that when you come into Rhinogram, more often than not, the right person will be the owner of the phone number.
That is great news, Brendan. So I see in this release that we also support, get ready, tongue twister, multi-factor authentication. However, I do see this beta label beside it. So can you help our customers understand what beta means and talk a bit about multi-factor authentication for those that may be interested?
Sure. Yeah. So on the first point, what is beta? So within Rhinogram, beta is the final step in the software development process before we make a new feature generally available. So when a feature is in beta, it is available to use by a subset of our clients. And we are working with those clients to essentially ensure that the goals that we have set out for a beta program have been reached, and that we are satisfied that the feature that we have released into beta, that our customers have used, that they have given us feedback on, that we have analyzed the data on, and we're now satisfied that it is ready for the general market and it is now generally available. So when you hear us talking about beta, or if you see a label of beta, it is a fully functioning feature that is in production, that is usable, but it is generally by a subset of our user base, and it is the final step. Consider it like the final step of quality assurance before it is it is available on a general basis. So then, speaking specifically about this multi-factor authentication, or MFA for short, essentially what this is, it is adding another layer of security to Rhinogram. It is adding an additional step in the login process, but that is only if either an organization wishes to add that step, or if any individual within an organization that hasn't signed up for it essentially adds this to their account. So let me just show you where you can do this, and this is in beta. So as I'm logging in here to see my user profile, I'm going to see this new section here, which is two-step verification, is what we've called it here. So if I enable this within my org, I will receive an invite via email. When I click on that and I set things up, it essentially means that every time I log in going forward, after I enter in my username and password, I will now be asked for one other step. And that other step is I have to enter in a 6-digit code. And this code is actually retrieved from an application that I would have downloaded onto my phone. So, the sample of the application that I can use for actually generating that code is the Google Authenticator app. So essentially, every time I go to log in, and let me just log out here and just show you just kind of generally what I'm talking about. So our login screen here will always stay the same. When I click on this screen here, rather than being logged in as I normally am now, there will be one other step. I enter in my 6-digit code and then I'm into Rhinogram. So as I mentioned, this is an optional layer. Either at the organization level, some admin can make that decision and work with our success team to set this up on all of the accounts, or if not, any individual can go and set this up and on their own account as well. So again, we all obviously take security very, it's just extremely important to us. So just adding this MFA layer, is a big win for us as well. So just wanted to give a quick overview of that here.
Wow, Brendan, some would say this was a jam-packed session. Lots of information and lots to remember. I know our customers cannot wait to get their hands on all of this that you've shown them today. Can you remind our audience when they can anticipate this release?
Yeah, so here is just a quick overview of everything that is in this release. In terms of when this will be available, so we are starting the work of releasing this tomorrow night. So that will be Thursday, or what date is it? July 23rd. So we start from 9 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday. Happy to say that there will not be any downtime during our release. So, we won't have a system maintenance page up or anything like that. So essentially when our members arrive to work on Friday morning, when you log in, you'll see this new navigation. You'll see it on your phone, and you will be able to take advantage of all of the different features and functionality that we've highlighted today.
This is great. So before we jump into the Q&A portion of our call, I'd like to remind everyone about a couple things. One being our customer referral program. So Brendan, if you could move to the next slide for us, that would be great. Just remember that you can earn some money on your Rhinogram bill for everybody that you recommend or refer to Rhinogram. So we wanted to put that up. You can get $200 savings on your future Rhinogram bill. To receive credit, all you have to do is refer a practice to sign up for Rhinogram. And then once they sign their contract, you'll get credit on your service. So it's just easy peasy. I do have a link there, and that will be shared with everybody. This is a common template people are using to kind of spread the word about Rhinogram to those in your network. Finally, we also wanted to just reiterate to everyone on the call how to contact customer support should you have any questions about anything you heard today. Our support team is available from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. You can reach us by emailing success@rhinogram.com or calling or texting us at 423-800-7644 and select option 1 to get to our support department. You can also use the application by clicking the question mark and selecting idea submission or submit an issue to also reach us in the support department. Anything that needs to be reported outside of those normal business hours does need to be called in, and we leave a voicemail for our on-call rep, and we'll contact you back for any critical issues that need to be done. So I think it takes us to the question and answer portion of our session here, and we do have a few questions that I'm going to ask Brendan for you. So the first question here is, do the variables inside templates, for example, the first name, do they work when you use Rhinoblast?
Yeah, they absolutely do, actually, in the example. So let me, if I can demo when I'm talking through these answers, I will do that as well, because I think it's always better just to see a visual indicator. So actually, in the example that I sent to Killian earlier, it contained a variable in there. So you'll see that it said, "Hi Killian, please remember to take your meds." And then at the end, I signed it off with my name. And in this case, I'm logged in like my last name here is Tour, but the name of the organization is Rhino Care. So absolutely, yes. When you are sending a Rhino blast, we can utilize the template, so or the variables within the templates.
Thanks, Brendan. Another question is, could this larger file feature that you showed support shorter video files? They're thinking of using that as an intro for virtual appointments.
Yeah, so you can create, you can upload any video file that is 20 megabytes. So for instance, here actually on this example here that I sent, this is actually a video file that I had uploaded. So I had created a file on my machine. I had created a video on my machine. As I was creating my template, I uploaded that file into Rhinogram within our template section, and then at the point of communication, where you see here, I'm just sending the file, and we know, okay, because this is a video file and I'm sending it via SMS, we can't send that as an actual attachment. So rather than sending it as an attachment, we are going to send it as a link like you see here. But you'll notice this is an MP4 file, so this is a video file. So that's a great idea for anything like a, introduction to the practice. If you want to send out specific instructions, maybe for exercises that somebody needs to do post-surgery, instructions for, really any kind of video content that you can create up to 20 megabytes, you can send out in these templates. Really good use case there.
I totally agree. Another question comes from a user that is asking, can we add attachments in appointment reminders yet?
Attachments and appointment reminders, not yet. I will say we are working on some additional enhancements for appointment reminders, and being able to create attachments within that is one of the items that will be addressed with those updates.
So another question is about the Cloud9. So they're asking, with the ability to pull in responsible parties as the main owner of the phone number, is this going to be available as of Thursday night?
So we always have been able to pull in the responsible parties, and we have, been able to pull in the patient data already. If you wish, though, so let's say as of Thursday night, the order will continue in the same way that it always has. So we will continue. We will first of all process the patient and then the connected party. If you want to essentially have us do that differently going forward, you can reach out to our success team and let them know that you would prefer to process the connected parties first and then the patients, and then we can do that. One thing I will say is that anybody that is an existing owner of a phone number already within our system will still be the owner of the phone number. So we didn't want to go and mess with ownership, but yeah, just reach out to our success team and you can work with them to process the connected parties first.
Yeah, thanks, Brendan, for pointing that out. That was going to be what I added to it if you didn't do that. So yes, please reach out to our the support department by texting us, emailing us, or calling us. We're happy to set that up for you. One other user suggested, because being able to attach a video file is so new to Rhinogram, could you roughly tell the audience how long a video is a 20 meg file if it's MP4? So how long of a video normally is that for a 20 meg? Do you have any idea, Brendan?
Let's look at this one here, which I know was a 4 megabyte file, and this was a 3-minute video. So I can definitely see if I can get some further information on that to see if there is a good rule of thumb there. But I would imagine anything under like a few minutes, and you should be in a good place with 20 megabytes for sure. So it was 4 megabytes and it was a 3-minute video.
Yeah, I think that gives them a good idea that it can be a pretty lengthy video and still stay under that 20 meg file limit, which is great addition to Rhinogram. Let's see here. Sorry, there's a lot of questions, Brendan, so I'm just trying to go through this list here. Someone is asking about the difference between Message and Rhino Secure. Why don't you talk a little bit about the difference with that while I search through this list for you?
Sure, sounds good. So Message, let's maybe just look at these different areas here for anybody that may not be very familiar with these areas. So here I'm looking at this patient profile, and there are a few different ways that I can communicate with this particular patient. So if I'm sending a message to them, message refers to a text message or any message sent using a phone channel. So in this case, Killian is the owner of 2 phone numbers. If he had also sent in an initial Facebook Messenger message, and we had a Facebook profile for Brendan, I could also send a Facebook message back to Brendan, or sorry, back to Killian here as well. So message is used for any phone channels and any Facebook channels. Rhino Secure is used when you want to have an end-to-end encrypted message sent to this particular patient. So usually, and I haven't actually set up a Rhino Secure channel here, so I can't just show it at the moment. I'll explain it more so. Rhino Secure would mainly be used if the patient, for whatever reason, has said, I don't want to receive like a text message from you, for instance, with personal details on it. So in some cases, patient may request that they receive the message in a different channel, and that is where we can use Rhino Secure. So the process there is you send the message into the Rhino Secure channel. The patient receives actually a notification text message telling them that there is a new message for them with a link. They click on the link and it actually brings them into a registration page for a Rhinogram account. So they enter in their details and then they log in and view the message from within there. So Rhino Secure is a secure end-to-end encrypted account on the patient side. If the patient requests that is how you send details to them. If not, you can use Messenger. Or sorry, you can use Message. And then the other section here is Note, and this is for internal note. So if I wanted just to write something here, this is an internal note that is only shown internally. The patient is never receiving this. So obviously this is utilized if you want to share something on their profile, but not necessarily send it out to a patient. So I hope that explains the difference between Rhino Secure and Message. And as always, I just want to use this as an opportunity. Of course, we're obviously happy to answer these questions. If you go to our help center, we have lots of really good articles and videos about how to, about some of the differences between the different features and functionality within the app as well. So remember to utilize that as well.
Thanks, Brendan. I think everybody's very excited about the Rhino Blast. There's a question about, at any point in the future, can we expect to send to more than 50 contacts?
Yeah, so there's, so again, just on this point as well, you can set up multiple lists and you could send, so if for instance there were, 100 people that you needed to send a message to, you obviously could set up 2 different lists and send 50 to the first list and 50 out to the second list. So obviously you can do that. We also are working through some additional details called Event Manager on our side. And that is, I would say, even more enhanced features and functionality around communicating on an automated mass level as well. So that's kind of the let's say the next generation of Rhino Blast. But for now, it is limited to 50. But you can send multiple groups of 50. So there's no restriction in terms of how many messages you could send in total.
Thanks, Brendan. Another common question I'm getting that I can answer pretty easily is, will there be a recording for this webinar? And the answer is yes. We have been recording this webinar today. Anybody that has registered for this event will get an email afterwards with the recording. We will also upload the recording to the Rhinogram University course catalog. And just a quick reminder, you can access the Rhinogram University course catalog by selecting the question mark in the Rhinogram application, which is located in the top right-hand corner, and selecting Rhinogram University. There you can find lots of pre-recorded sessions, including all of our past product showcase webinars for future reference. All right, Brendan, let's see here. I think most of the other questions are kind of repeats. We'll give everybody, I know we have about 3 minutes left for the end of the webinar here. I'll see if there's any unique questions that come in. Otherwise, we will go ahead and adjourn today's session.
Yeah, I see one here, Mandy. Actually, I just noticed somebody asked if they can update or if they can upload Stl files. So you could upload those as a part of your templates. So if there is, something that you wanted to share from, a 3D printing, you could upload them and send them via via template. Just keep in mind that if you upload something into templates, it really shouldn't contain PHI or unique identifiers for a particular patient. So that's something just to keep in mind. But in terms of the file format that you can upload via or templates, it should support that file format.
Brendan, another one we may can answer here too that I see is about using CSV files to tag contacts to help make Rhinoblast a little easier. Do you want to try to explain how we could do that?
So if you're uploading a file, yeah, you could use escapes me the notes or the it has been a while since I've uploaded the
tags.
CSV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they could use tags.
Yeah, absolutely. You could use tags on that file, and they then show up on the patient record. So as you are, let's say I want to create a new list based on those tags that you've uploaded, you can search by tags. And the example I used earlier was diabetic, but if you had other tags that you have created as well, they would show up here as well. So you could just, for instance, waitlist is another one. So yeah, that is definitely an option.
All right, I don't see anything else here that is any unique question. Not sure about you. I'm scrolling through them here. It looks like we've addressed most of these questions here, one fashion or another. So if there's nothing else, we're going to give it just another minute here. If there's no other quick questions that come in, we'll go ahead and adjourn the session today. All right, I don't see any new questions coming in, so we're going to make that a wrap for today. Thank you everyone so very much for participating in our product showcase. Again, the release is 3.5.4 and it is scheduled for Thursday night, so you'll get your hands on this new and awesome release as early as Friday morning. We hope everybody has a great rest of your day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.